The massive space station turned slowly in the darkness around Kepler Prime. Inside its great halls, creatures from 47 different worlds gathered for what they thought would be a simple meeting. The Galactic Council had done this many times before. A new species discovers faster than light travel. The Council makes contact and the newcomers either submit or get crushed. It was how things worked in the galaxy. Ambassador Lyrelay Starweaver stood at her place in the council chamber. Her long silver hair caught the light as she moved. Like all elves, she had lived for centuries and seen many species come before the council. Most were smart enough to accept the rules. A few tried to fight and learned painful lessons. She expected today would be no different. Across the chamber, Commander Zara Vex checked her weapons for the third time. The reptilian warrior had scales that gleamed like dark metal, and her yellow eyes held no mercy. She represented the Draconis Empire, and she believed in solving problems with force. Her people had conquered 12 star systems before joining the Council. She knew how to deal with stubborn species. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Lisa Martinez. She was the human representative, a woman with graying hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no fancy decorations. The aliens around her whispered among themselves, amused by how ordinary she looked. Humans had only achieved faster than light travel 2 years ago. Their ships were basic, their technology simple, their military small. The council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like creature, began the ceremony. The species known as humans will now hear the terms of integration into galactic society. Admiral Martinez listened without expression as the terms were read aloud. Surrender all military ships to Council oversight. Accept limits on technology. Development. Provide 30% of all industrial production as tribute. Allow Council representatives to govern human expansion into space. Accept client species status under Galactic Council authority. The chamber fell silent when the reading finished. Every species in the galaxy had heard these same terms. Most accepted immediately. The smart ones asked for minor changes and got them. The stupid ones refused and paid the price. Admiral Martinez stepped forward. The United Earth government appreciates the Council's offer, she said in a clear voice. However, we must respectfully decline these terms. A ripple of surprised murmurs ran through the chamber. Lyrelay raised one elegant eyebrow. It had been decades since anyone refused outright. She studied the human more carefully. Martinez showed no fear, no anger, no desperation. Just calm professionalism. Commander Zara Vex laughed, a harsh sound, like grinding metal. Human, you cannot be serious. Do you have any idea what forces the Council commands? We have studied your capabilities extensively, Martinez replied. Very impressive. The Council fleet includes approximately 50,000 warships across all member species. Your industrial capacity spans hundreds of worlds. Your technology has been refined over millions of years. Zara Vex nodded with satisfaction. At least, the human understood the reality of their situation, which is why, Martinez continued, we request time to consult with our government before providing our final answer. The speaker floated higher, its tentacles glowing with irritation. How much time do you require? 3 weeks should be sufficient, laughter erupted throughout the chamber. 3 weeks? Most species begged for months or even years to prepare their submissions. What could humans possibly accomplish in 3 weeks? Lyrelay found herself curious despite her amusement. Admiral Martinez, surely you understand that 3 weeks will not allow you to build sufficient forces to resist Council authority? Martinez smiled slightly. Ambassador, we are not planning to build forces to resist you. Then what exactly do you plan to do? Zara Vex demanded. We plan to demonstrate our position, Martinez said. In exactly 3 weeks, we will send a single ship to show the Council what humanity stands for. The laughter grew louder. A single ship? Against the combined fleets of 47 species? Even Lyrelay, despite her diplomatic training, struggled to keep a straight face. One ship? The speaker asked as if it had misheard. One ship, Martinez confirmed. Zara Vex stood up, her scales bristling with amusement and contempt. Human, I have personally destroyed entire fleets. My flagship alone could vaporize your homeworld. What possible demonstration could one ship provide? Martinez looked directly at the reptilian commander. You will see in 3 weeks, Commander. We will transmit coordinates where our ship will arrive. Please feel free to bring whatever forces you consider appropriate. The human admiral turned to address the entire chamber. The United Earth Government thanks the Galactic Council for this opportunity to demonstrate our position. We look forward to a productive discussion in 3 weeks. With that, she walked calmly from the chamber, leaving behind a room full of confused and amused aliens. As soon as the human left, the chamber erupted in conversation. Species representatives shared jokes about human stupidity. Military commanders bragged about which of them would get to destroy the single human ship. Diplomats made bets on whether the humans would surrender before or after their ship was obliterated. Lyrelay remained quiet, studying the datapad that contained everything the Council knew about humanity. Something bothered her about Admiral Martinez's confidence. The human had shown no signs of desperation or delusion. She had spoken like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Kaylin, she called to her young aide. Yes, Ambassador? Pull up human historical records. I want to see how they have handled impossible situations in the past. Kaylin Moonwhisper, barely a century old by Elven standards, began accessing the galactic database. Ambassador, their history is quite violent. They seem to fight constantly, even among themselves. Show me their technological development timeline. The data appeared on Lyrelay's screen, and she frowned. The pattern was unusual. Most species advanced steadily over millions of years. Human technology showed long periods of slow progress followed by sudden explosive leaps. They had gone from basic tools to space travel in just a few thousand years. These development spikes, Lyrelay murmured. What caused them? War, mostly, Kaylin replied. They seem to innovate fastest when facing extinction-level threats. Lyrelay felt a chill run down her spine. She looked across the chamber at Commander Zara Vex, who was loudly describing how she would destroy the human ship. The reptilian warrior was already planning her attack formation. Kaylin, how many ships is Commander Zara Vex planning to bring to this demonstration? The reports suggest 50 vessels, Ambassador. A full battle group. Lyrelay nodded slowly. 50 of the galaxy's most advanced warships against one human vessel. It should be a slaughter. So why did Admiral Martinez seem so confident? 3 weeks later, news networks across the galaxy prepared to broadcast what everyone assumed would be the shortest battle in galactic history. Betting pools opened on how long the human ship would survive. Most estimates ranged from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Commander Zara Vex assembled her fleet at the coordinates the humans had provided. 50 ships formed a perfect attack formation around empty space. Sensor operators scanned constantly for the incoming human vessel. Lyrelay watched from her own ship, positioned safely behind the main battle line. She had convinced herself that her unease was foolish. Humans were primitives. Their single ship would be destroyed, and they would submit like every other species. But deep in her mind, a small voice whispered that something was wrong. Admiral Martinez had been too calm, too confident. She had spoken like someone who held all the cards, not someone facing impossible odds. The countdown reached 0. Space rippled with the familiar distortion of a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The human ship appeared exactly where they said it would. It was medium-sized with clean lines and no obvious weapons. The name USS Defiance was painted on its hull in simple letters. Commander Zara Vex stared at her screens in disbelief. This was it? This ordinary-looking vessel was humanity's great demonstration? All ships, she ordered, prepare to fire on my command. But before she could give the order, the human ship opened communications. The face of Captain Amy Brooks appeared, on screens throughout the fleet. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and calm eyes. Galactic Council vessels, she said politely. This is Captain Amy Brooks of the United Earthship Defiance. Thank you for coming to witness our demonstration. Zara Vex snarled at the screen. Human, you face 50 warships. Surrender now and We will make your death quick. Captain Brooks tilted her head thoughtfully. That's very kind of you, Commander, but I'm afraid I must decline. You see, we came here to show you something important about humanity. And what is that? Lyra Lee found herself asking. Brooks smiled. That when humans say impossible, we usually mean, give us a few minutes to figure it out. Captain Amy Brooks looked at the 50 alien warships surrounding her vessel and showed no fear. The USS Defiance hung in space like a small fish surrounded by sharks. Every weapon in the alien fleet was pointed at her ship. Any one of those vessels could destroy her in seconds. Computer, she said calmly, begin the demonstration. Commander Zara Vex watched her targeting systems lock onto the human ship. Her finger hovered over the fire button. She could end this farce with one shot. But something made her hesitate. The human captain seemed too relaxed for someone about to die. Captain Brooks, Ambassador Lyra Lee spoke over the communication channel. Surely you realize the impossibility of your situation. We have 50 ships to your 1. Please reconsider. Brooks nodded respectfully. I appreciate your concern, Ambassador. But this isn't about the number of ships. It's about understanding what ships can do. She paused and looked directly at the camera. Tell me, when you look at the Defiance, what do you see? Commander Zara Vex growled. I see a target that's about to be space dust. I see a small warship with minimal weapons. Lyra Lee added more diplomatically. Brooks smiled. That's the problem with assumptions. You're both wrong. The Defiance isn't a warship at all. Before anyone could ask what she meant, the human ship began to move. But it didn't flee or attack. Instead, it started a complex dance between the alien vessels. The Defiance wove through the enemy formation with impossible grace, moving in patterns that seemed random but were clearly planned. What is she doing? Muttered one of the alien captains. Unknown, reported his sensor officer. She's not targeting anything, she's just flying around. Captain Brooks continued her strange flight pattern while talking calmly over the radio. You've been scanning my ship for several minutes now. Your sensors have been examining every inch of the Defiance, is that correct? Several alien commanders confirmed this. Of course they were scanning her. They needed to know what weapons she carried, what defenses she had. Good, Brooks said, because that's exactly what we wanted. Computer, begin Phase 2. What happened next broke every rule of space warfare that the aliens knew. The Defiance didn't grow weapons or launch fighters. Instead, machines began emerging from hidden compartments in her hull. Robotic arms extended outward. Construction drones poured out like metal insects, and then the ship began to build something. Ambassador Lyra Lee stared at her screens in confusion. That's impossible. No ship that size could carry enough materials for major construction. You're right, Captain Brooks agreed cheerfully. No normal ship could. But the Defiance isn't a normal ship. You see, you've been thinking about this all wrong. You assumed we brought a warship to fight your warships. The construction continued at an incredible pace. Whatever the humans were building, it was big and complex. Automated systems worked, with perfect coordination, assembling components that seemed to appear from nowhere. But we didn't bring a warship, Brooks continued. We brought something much more dangerous. We brought a factory. Commander Zara Vex watched in growing alarm as the structure took shape around the human vessel. The energy requirements alone should be impossible. How are they powering this? Her science officer ran frantic calculations. Commander, they're generating more power than our entire fleet combined. I don't understand how. Captain Brooks seemed happy to explain. 0 point. Energy extraction coupled with controlled matter-antimatter reactions in compressed dimensional space. Think of it as a very efficient engine. She spoke as casually as someone discussing the weather, but her words described technology that was centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. The first completed structure detached from the growing factory. It was clearly a warship, but unlike anything in galactic databases, sleek and efficient, it bristled with weapons that the alien sensors couldn't identify. Impossible, breathed Lyra Lee. They cannot manufacture starships in minutes. You're absolutely right, Brooks agreed. We can't manufacture starships in minutes. But we can manufacture components in seconds and assemble them even faster. The key is preparation. A second ship emerged from the factory, then a third. Each vessel was slightly different, as if the humans were improving their design with every unit produced. Commander Zara Vex felt her confidence cracking. This is some kind of trick. You cannot build a fleet from nothing. Not from nothing, Brooks corrected. From everything. You see, Commander, when you gave us 3 weeks to prepare, we did what humans do best. We engineered a solution. The factory produced its 10th ship, each one taking less time than the last. The automated systems were learning, optimizing, becoming more efficient with every cycle. You expected us to build a bigger fleet in 3 weeks, Brooks explained. But we realized that was thinking too small. Instead, we built the ability to build any fleet we need, whenever we need it. Ambassador Lorelei felt her centuries of diplomatic experience failing her. Nothing in galactic history had prepared her for this. Captain Brooks, our long-range sensors are detecting similar construction beginning throughout this star system. Brooks nodded approvingly. Very good, Ambassador. Yes, the Defiance isn't alone. We have 17 other factory ships positioned around the system. Each one is beginning production now. The revelation sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. 18 factory ships, each producing warships at an impossible rate. Commander Zara Vex ran quick calculations and didn't like the results. At current production rates, they'll equal our numbers within an hour, she told her tactical officer. And exceed them shortly after, came the grim reply. Captain Brooks continued her explanation as human ships multiplied around them. You see, Council representatives, you made a fundamental error. You assumed we would fight this battle on your terms with your rules, using your strategies. The human fleet grew from dozens to hundreds. Each new vessel immediately began spreading throughout the system, taking positions that would control all major space routes and resources. But humans have a saying, Brooks continued. If you can't win the game, change the rules. You came here expecting us to ram our heads against your superior firepower, but we're not here to fight your fleet. She paused as her ships continued, their systematic deployment throughout the system. We're here to make your fleet irrelevant. Ambassador Lorelei understood the strategy with growing horror. The humans weren't trying to destroy the Council fleet. They were simply surrounding it, outnumbering it, making it meaningless in the larger picture. This is not warfare, she whispered. This is industrial supremacy. Exactly, Brooks said, apparently having heard her. War is what happens when diplomacy fails and one side tries to impose their will through force. But what we're demonstrating isn't war, it's manufacturing capability. Commander Zara Vex, her warrior instincts screaming at her to attack, found herself facing an impossible choice. She could fire on the human ships, but there were now 300 of them. Even if she destroyed 50 or 100, the factories would replace them faster than she could target them. What do you want? She demanded. Captain Brooks's expression became serious. We want to talk, real talk, not ultimatums or threats or demands for surrender. We want to sit down with Council representatives and discuss how humanity can fit into galactic civilization. From a position of strength, Lorelei observed. From a position of equality, Brooks corrected. Strength is what you bring to a fight. Equality is what you bring to a negotiation. The factory ships continued their work and the human fleet continued to grow. But instead of forming attack formations, the new ships spread out to establish what looked like infrastructure. Communication relays, sensor networks, logistics hubs. You're not building for war, Lorelei realized. You're building for occupation, habitation, Brooks corrected again. This system has 17 habitable worlds and 43 moons suitable for industrial development. Instead of fighting over it, we thought we'd develop it. She gestured to her growing fleet. Every one of these ships carries colonization equipment, medical facilities, agricultural systems, manufacturing capacity. We're not here to conquer this system, Ambassador. We're here to improve it. The scope of the human plan became clear. They hadn't come to fight a battle. They had come to demonstrate that they could claim and develop an entire star system faster than the Council could mobilize to stop them. This changes everything, Lorelei murmured. Captain Brooks nodded. That's the idea. The old way of doing things with ultimatums and client species and tribute doesn't work when one side can outproduce everyone else combined. She looked directly at the camera, addressing not just the fleet but the entire galaxy watching through news broadcasts. So the question isn't whether humanity will submit to Council authority. The question is whether the Council wants to work with us or watch us build our own civilization right next to yours. Commander Zara Vex found her voice. You're threatening the entire galactic order. No, Brooks replied calmly. We're offering to improve it, but improvement requires change, and change can be uncomfortable. As if to emphasize her point, the human fleet reached 500 vessels and showed no signs of slowing production. The factory ships worked with mechanical precision, turning raw materials into finished starships with an efficiency that defied belief. Ambassador Lyrelai realized the human fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships in just 3 hours. Ambassador Lyrelai watched the production continue from her bridge, feeling centuries of diplomatic experience become useless. Nothing in galactic history compared to what she was witnessing. Ambassador, her aide Kaelin Moonwhisper whispered, they're not just building ships anymore. Lyrelai looked at the tactical display and felt her blood turn cold. The human factory ships were now producing massive structures, space stations, mining platforms, communication arrays. They were building an entire infrastructure from nothing. Captain Amy Brooks appeared calm as ever on the communication screen. Sorry about the delay, Ambassador. We wanted to establish basic facilities before our meeting. Can't have proper negotiations without proper accommodations. Proper accommodations? Lyrelai stared as a space station the size of a small moon took shape near the largest human factory. The construction speed defied every law of engineering she knew. Captain Brooks, she managed to say, how is this possible? The energy requirements, the materials, the coordination needed. It's all about efficiency. Brooks replied cheerfully. When you can convert matter to energy and back again at will, resource limitations become more like suggestions. Commander Zara Vex had been silent for the past hour, watching her worldview crumble. Her entire military philosophy was based on the idea that strength came from having bigger ships and more weapons. But the humans had demonstrated something beyond her understanding, the ability to create strength from nothing. This is madness, she finally growled. No species can build this fast. You're right, Brooks agreed. No single species can build this fast. But humans don't build the way other species do. We build systems that build things. Then we build systems that build those systems. It's recursive manufacturing. She gestured to her fleet, which now numbered over 1,500 vessels. Every ship you see contains the blueprints and basic equipment to build 10 more ships. Every station can manufacture 100 stations. We don't just make things, Commander. We make things that make things. Lyrelai felt a chill of understanding. Exponential growth. Exactly. Most species grow linearly. They build one ship, then another ship, then another. Humans grow exponentially. We build one ship that builds 2 ships, that build 4 ships, that build 8 ships. The math gets very interesting very quickly. The demonstration continued around them. Human vessels spread throughout the star system, establishing mining operations on asteroids, setting up research stations around gas giants, beginning construction of what looked like permanent colonies on habitable worlds. You're claiming the entire system, Lyrelai realized. We're developing the entire system, Brooks corrected. There's a difference. We're not taking anything away from anyone. We're adding value where none existed before. She brought up a holographic display showing the star system before and after human arrival. Before, empty space with a few scattered rocks. After, a thriving network of industrial and scientific facilities. This system was uninhabited and undeveloped. Now it will support millions of beings and produce enough resources to supply dozens of other worlds. We're not conquering, Ambassador. We're improving. Commander Zara Vex struggled to understand the human approach. But why? What do you gain from this? Captain Brooks looked at her with something like pity. Commander, your people think in terms of taking. Taking territory, taking resources, taking control. Humans think in terms of making things better, making things work, making things grow. The tactical display updated again. The human fleet had reached 2,000 ships and was still growing. But more importantly, those ships were working together in ways that amazed the watching aliens. "Look at their coordination," Kaylin whispered to Lyrelay. "Every ship knows exactly what every other ship is doing. They're operating like a single organism." Brooks overheard the comment. "That's not far wrong. We use distributed artificial intelligence networks. Every human ship shares information with every other human ship instantly. When one learns something, they all learn it. When one solves a problem, they all know the solution." She paused to let this sink in. Individual ships might be destroyed, but the fleet's knowledge and capability only grows stronger. Every attack teaches us how to defend better. Every challenge shows us how to adapt faster. Ambassador Lyrelay understood the implications with growing horror. Fighting the human fleet wouldn't just be difficult, it would be impossible. Every battle would make them stronger, every victory temporary, every defeat educational. "This is why you were so confident," she said quietly. "You weren't planning to fight us. You were planning to outgrow us." "Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent," Brooks quoted. "Humans learned long ago that the best way to win a fight is to make fighting pointless." Commander Zaravex finally snapped. Her warrior pride couldn't accept the situation any longer. "Enough talk. All ships target the factory vessels. If we destroy their production capacity, their numbers become meaningless." Her battle group of 12 heavy cruisers and one massive dreadnought broke formation and charged toward the nearest human factory. Plasma cannons powered up to full charge. Missile tubes loaded with planet-killer warheads. "Interesting choice, Commander," Brooks said calmly. "Computer, demonstrate defensive protocols." What happened next redefined space warfare for everyone watching. The Draconis ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts that could melt continents struck the human factory dead on. Missiles that could crack moons exploded against its hull. And absolutely nothing happened. "Impossible!" Zaravex screamed. "Nothing can absorb that much firepower." "You're right," Brooks agreed. "Nothing can absorb that much firepower, so we don't try to absorb it. We redirect it." The factory ship wasn't tanking the damage. It was somehow channeling the energy away, storing it, converting it into useful power for its manufacturing processes. "Thank you for the energy donation, Commander," Brooks said politely. "We'll put it to good use." The attacked factory used the energy from the Draconis weapons to accelerate its production. Instead of being damaged, it began building ships faster than before. Commander Zaravex watched in disbelief as her most powerful attack was turned into a gift for her enemies. "This violates every law of physics." "Not violates," Brooks corrected. "Transcends. When you understand physics well enough, the laws become more like guidelines. Energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. We've learned to transform it very efficiently." But the Draconis attack wasn't over. Frustrated by their inability to damage the factory, Zaravex ordered her flagship to ram it directly. The massive dreadnought, the size of a small city, accelerated toward the human structure at maximum speed. "If I cannot burn it," she snarled, "I will smash it apart." Captain Brooks watched the approaching dreadnought with interest rather than alarm. "Computer, prepare gravity well demonstration." "Gravity well?" Lyrelay asked, confused. "Full power," Brooks confirmed. "The Council needs to understand what they're dealing with." Space around the human factory suddenly changed. The charging Draconis dreadnought found itself caught in an artificial gravity field that made forward movement impossible while preventing retreat. The massive warship hung in space, trapped like an insect in amber. "They're manipulating space-time itself," Kaylin breathed. "The energy requirements should be impossible. Matter-antimatter annihilation in controlled dimensional pockets," Brooks explained casually. "We create small pocket universes where we can safely harness stellar-level energies. Think of it as a very advanced power source." The trapped dreadnought struggled helplessly against forces beyond its comprehension. Commander Zaravex tried every escape maneuver she knew, but her ship might as well have been set in concrete. "Now comes the interesting part," Brooks said. "Computer, begin integration protocols." Mechanical arms emerged from the human factory, reaching toward the trapped Draconis ship. But these weren't solid metal structures. They seemed to be made of some kind of programmable matter that flowed and reshaped itself as needed. "All units target those arms," Zara Vex ordered desperately. "Don't let them board my ship." The alien fleet opened fire on the mechanical tendrils, but the weapons passed through them harmlessly. The arms weren't solid enough to be destroyed, but they were solid enough to attach to the dreadnought's hull. Within minutes, the massive Draconis warship was completely covered in human technology. Ship systems began shutting down one by one as alien and human technology interfaced in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "Commander Zara Vex," Brooks said politely, "we're going to need to discuss your ship's surrender. Your crew will be treated well, but we'll be examining your technology." Zara Vex, her reptilian features flushed with rage and humiliation, spat back, "The Draconis Empire will never surrender to primitive mammals." "Actually," Brooks replied with professional courtesy, "you already have. Your ship is now part of our research matrix. We're learning fascinating things about Draconis engineering. Your plasma containment methods are quite elegant." The rest of the alien fleet watched in stunned silence as one of their most powerful vessels was absorbed into the human industrial complex. It wasn't destroyed or captured in any conventional sense. It was simply integrated. "Your ship's crew is unharmed," Brooks assured. Commander Zara Vex sat in what used to be her own command chair, watching human engineers crawl through her ship like ants through a hill. Her pride burned worse than any physical wound. The flagship of the Draconis Empire captured without a real fight, absorbed into the enemy's industrial machine like scrap metal. "This is intolerable," she growled to her bridge crew. But even her most loyal officers looked uncertain. They had watched the humans convert their plasma cannons into more efficient energy collectors. They had seen human technology improve their life support systems in ways Draconis engineers never imagined possible. "Commander," her tactical officer said quietly, "the humans have increased our ship's power output by 40%. They've improved our shield generators, upgraded our weapon systems, and fixed 17 problems we didn't even know we had." Zara Vex wanted to rage at him, but the evidence was undeniable. Her ship was now more powerful than it had ever been. The humans weren't just studying Draconis technology, they were improving it. Captain Amy Brooks appeared on the main screen, as calm and professional as ever. "Commander Zara, I hope you're finding your accommodations acceptable. We've taken the liberty of upgrading your ship's systems while we study them." "Why?" Zara Vex demanded. "Why improve the ship of your enemy?" Brooks tilted her head thoughtfully. "Enemy? Commander, we're not enemies. We're just species who haven't learned to work together yet. Improving your ship is an investment in future cooperation." She gestured to displays showing the ongoing modifications. "Your engineers are brilliant, by the way. The way you contain plasma using magnetic fields is elegant. We've learned a lot from studying your methods." Despite herself, Zara Vex felt a flicker of pride. "Draconis engineering is the finest in the galaxy." "It was," Brooks agreed. "Now it's the second finest. But don't worry, we're happy to share our improvements with you." Meanwhile, Ambassador Liralai prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting of her long career. Her shuttle approached the human space station that had been built in just 6 hours. The structure was massive, elegant, and completely impossible by galactic engineering standards. "Ambassador," her aide Kaylin whispered, "the power readings from that station are incredible. They're generating enough energy to supply 100 worlds." Liralai nodded grimly. She had spent the last few hours studying human technology demonstrations and reached a disturbing conclusion. Humanity wasn't just advanced, they operated on completely different principles than anyone else in the galaxy. The shuttle docked with the station, and Liralai stepped into an airlock that seemed to reshape itself around her. The walls adjusted their color and texture to match elven preferences. The gravity shifted to match her homeworld. Even the air composition changed to optimize her comfort. "Impressive," she murmured. "Thank you," came a voice from nowhere and everywhere. "I am the station's artificial intelligence. Captain Brooks is waiting in conference room Alpha. Shall I guide you there?" Lyra had heard about human artificial intelligence, but experiencing it was different. The AI seemed almost alive, genuinely interested in her comfort and well-being. Most galactic AIs were barely more than advanced calculators. Conference Room Alpha turned out to be a marvel of adaptive architecture. The walls displayed a perfect recreation of Lyra's home forest, complete with the sounds of wind through silver leaves. The lighting matched the golden glow of her homeworld sun. Captain Brooks stood as she entered, offering a respectful bow in the elven style. "Ambassador Lorelei, welcome aboard. I hope the accommodations are suitable." "More than suitable," Lorelei admitted. "How did you know about elven environmental preferences?" "We did our research," Brooks said simply. "Understanding is the foundation of cooperation." She gestured to a chair that perfectly matched elven ergonomics. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." Dr. Rebecca Stone, the human cultural specialist, joined them at the table. She was a woman with kind eyes and an obvious passion for learning about other species. "Before we discuss terms," Dr. Stone began, "I think it's important to address some misconceptions about humanity." She activated a holographic display showing human technological development. But these weren't the sanitized records in galactic databases. These showed the full scope of human advancement, including the explosive growth periods that alien analysts had dismissed as data errors. "Your council assessed humanity based on our current visible technology," Stone explained. "But you missed something crucial about how we develop. We don't improve steadily like other species. We plateau for long periods, then make sudden breakthrough leaps." Ambassador Lyra studied the data with growing unease. "These development curves are unlike anything we've seen. Most species advance predictably over millions of years. Most species achieve stability and then maintain it," Brooks agreed. "But humans have what you might call an allergy to the word impossible. When we encounter a problem we can't solve, we don't accept limitations. We change the rules." Dr. Stone continued the explanation that would reshape galactic understanding of humanity. "Your species achieved galactic civilization through cooperation, trade, and gradual improvement. Humans achieved it through constant competition, warfare, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat." She showed historical examples. Humanity's response to resource scarcity led to fusion power. Their response to disease led to genetic engineering. Their response to the limits of biological intelligence led to artificial intelligence. Every major breakthrough in human technology came from someone saying, "This can't be done," and humanity responding with, "Watch us," Stone explained. Lyra absorbed this information with the growing realization that the galactic community had fundamentally misunderstood what they were dealing with. "You're saying that conflict drives your innovation?" "Conflict is our innovation," Brooks clarified. "We don't solve problems despite adversity. We solve them because of adversity. The harder the challenge, the more creative we become." The conversation turned to the immediate situation. The human fleet now numbered over 5,000 ships and showed no signs of slowing production. More concerning, they had established a complete industrial infrastructure throughout the star system. "Captain Brooks," Lyra said carefully. "What are humanity's intentions regarding the Galactic Council?" Brooks exchanged a glance with Dr. Stone before answering. "That depends entirely on the Council's intentions regarding humanity." She activated her own display, showing the current tactical situation. 24 human factory ships had established positions throughout the system, each producing vessels and infrastructure at an exponential rate. "The force you see here represents less than 1% of humanity's current industrial capacity," Brooks explained matter-of-factly. "We built this demonstration in 3 weeks using resources from a single asteroid belt." She paused to let this sink in. "If the Council chooses to escalate this conflict, we can scale our response accordingly. But we'd prefer to avoid that entirely." Dr. Stone provided context that made Lyra understand the true scope of what humanity represented. "Ambassador, your council controls 47 species across 312 systems. That's impressive. But humanity went from first flight to interstellar travel in 157 years. She paused for emphasis. And we did it while fighting among ourselves. Imagine what we could accomplish with access to galactic resources and willing partners. The implication was clear. Humanity wasn't asking to join the galactic community as a client species. They were announcing their arrival as equals or superiors. Captain Brooks outlined humanity's proposal for ending the crisis. We want a complete reset of the relationship between humanity and the Galactic Council. No ultimatums, no client species status, no tribute or oversight. Instead, humanity offered true partnership based on mutual benefit. We have technology. You need. Our manufacturing processes, our problem-solving methods, our approach to impossible challenges. In exchange, we want access to galactic markets, scientific databases, and diplomatic recognition as equals. Lyrelai realized this was far more generous than humanity needed to be, given their demonstrated superiority. Why offer partnership when you could demand submission? Dr. Stone answered with insight that revealed deep understanding of galactic politics. Because conquest creates enemies, but partnership creates allies. Humanity learned through painful experience that the strongest civilizations are built on cooperation, not domination. To demonstrate their sincerity, Captain Brooks ordered something that stunned Lyrelai. The human factory ships began producing medical supplies and relief equipment. Our databases indicate that the Draconis Empire is fighting a plague that's devastated 3 colony worlds, Brooks explained. Our medical technology can synthesize a cure within 6 hours. The gesture was perfectly calculated. It demonstrated human industrial capacity, medical knowledge, and good intentions simultaneously. Commander Zara Vex, still held aboard her modified vessel, received the news that humanity was preparing to save millions of Draconis' lives with the same casual efficiency they had shown in military production. Why? Zara Vex demanded over the communication channel. Why save the lives of your enemies? Captain Brooks looked directly at her. Because you're not our enemies, Commander. You're potential allies who just have you. 6 hours after the diplomatic meeting, the cure for the Draconis plague was delivered to 3 dying worlds. Commander Zara Vex stood on her modified bridge, watching news feeds of her people celebrating in the streets of cities that had been graveyards just days before. Millions of lives, she whispered to her tactical officer. They saved millions of Draconis' lives in less than a day. Her ship's systems displayed the data. Human medical technology had not just cured the plague, but improved Draconis biology in the process. Immune systems were stronger, lifespans were extended, genetic diseases were eliminated. Commander, her science officer reported, the humans didn't just cure our plague. They've given our species biological improvements that will benefit us for generations. Zara Vex felt something crack inside her warrior's heart. Her entire life had been built on the idea that strength came from conquest, that power meant the ability to destroy. But the humans had demonstrated a different kind of strength, the power to create, to heal, to improve. Captain Amy Brooks appeared on her screen. Commander, how are your people responding to the medical aid? They are grateful, Zara Vex admitted, the words feeling strange in her mouth. But I don't understand. Why help us? We attacked you. Brooks smiled with genuine warmth. Because that's what neighbors do, Commander. They help each other. And we're all neighbors in this galaxy. Meanwhile, Ambassador Lyrelai returned to her flagship with a decision that would reshape galactic history. Her aide Kaylin Moonwhisper was waiting with reports from across the galaxy. Ambassador, the news networks are calling it the most significant technological demonstration in galactic history. Every major species is demanding access to human manufacturing methods. The Council is in emergency session. Lyrelai nodded grimly. I expected as much. Have you prepared my report to the Council? Yes, Ambassador, but are you certain about your recommendations? Lyrelai looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet, which now numbered over 10,000 vessels, and controlled the entire star system. More importantly, they had done it all while improving the lives of everyone around them. I'm certain, Kaylin, humanity has made resistance pointless and cooperation profitable. That's either brilliant diplomacy or the most sophisticated form of conquest in galactic history. She paused, considering. Perhaps there's no difference when executed at this level. The council session was held via quantum communication, with representatives from all 47 member species participating. Lyrelai's report would determine humanity's future relationship with galactic civilization. Honored representatives, she began, I have completed my assessment of the human species and their technological capabilities. My recommendation is immediate acceptance of their partnership proposal. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Many had expected her to call for military action against the human threat. The humans represent a paradigm shift in galactic civilization, she continued. They have demonstrated manufacturing capacity that exceeds our combined industrial output, medical technology that surpasses our best science, and engineering capabilities that we cannot currently understand. She activated displays showing the human fleet and infrastructure. More importantly, they have shown that their power comes not from conquest, but from creation. They build rather than destroy, improve rather than dominate, heal rather than harm. The Draconis representative, speaking for Commander Zara Vex's government, supported Lyrelai's position. The humans have saved 3 of our worlds from plague in a single day. They have improved our technology, strengthened our biology, and asked for nothing in return. How can we consider such beings enemies? Other species began sharing their own experiences. Human ships had been detected throughout the galaxy, not conquering or threatening, but offering aid. They had solved engineering problems that had plagued civilizations for centuries, provided medical breakthroughs that eliminated suffering, and shared technological advances freely. They're not seeking to rule us, observed the crystalline representative. They're seeking to improve us. The vote was closer than Lyrelai had hoped, but the result was clear. 31 species voted to accept humanity's partnership proposal, while only 16 voted for continued resistance. Captain Brooks received the news aboard her flagship, now the center of a massive fleet that continued to grow even as they spoke. Dr. Rebecca Stone stood beside her, both women watching the galaxy's response to their demonstration. The Council has voted to accept our partnership proposal, Brooks announced to her crew. Humanity is now officially recognized as an equal member of galactic civilization. Cheers erupted across the human fleet, but Brooks raised her hand for quiet. This is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part, proving that we deserve their trust. Over the following months, the galaxy learned what human partnership meant. Human manufacturing techniques revolutionized production across dozens of worlds. Human medical advances eliminated diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Human engineering solutions solved infrastructure problems that had been considered unsolvable. But more than the technology, it was the human approach that changed everything. Where other species saw limitations, humans saw opportunities. Where others accepted problems as permanent, humans treated them as temporary challenges. Commander Zara Vex found herself serving as a liaison between humanity and the Draconis Empire. Her ship, now a hybrid of human and Draconis technology, was faster, stronger, and more capable than anything in the Imperial fleet. I don't understand your people, she told Captain Brooks during one of their regular meetings. You could rule this galaxy through force. Instead, you choose to serve it through improvement. Brooks smiled. Force creates fear, Commander. Fear creates resistance, but improvement creates gratitude, and gratitude creates cooperation, she gestured to displays showing human ships working alongside vessels from dozens of species. We learned something important in our history. The strongest civilizations aren't built on the fear of subjects, but on the loyalty of partners. Ambassador Lyrelai worked to establish formal diplomatic relations between humanity and the Council. She found the humans to be surprisingly easy to negotiate with. They asked for little and offered much, but they were absolutely firm on one point: equality. We will not be junior partners, Dr. Stone explained during one session. We will not accept limitations on our expansion or development. We will not submit to oversight or tribute. But you will accept mutual cooperation? Lyrelai asked. We insist on it, Stone replied. Cooperation makes everyone stronger. Competition makes everyone better. But domination makes everyone weaker. including the Dominators. The human philosophy spread throughout galactic civilization like a beneficial virus. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves working together on human-sponsored projects. Technologies that had been jealously guarded were shared freely in human-mediated exchanges. Within a year, the galaxy was barely recognizable. Production had increased by 300%. Scientific advancement had accelerated beyond all predictions. Interspecies cooperation had reached levels never before achieved. And at the center of it all was humanity, not ruling but facilitating, not conquering but improving, not demanding but inspiring. Captain Brooks stood on the observation deck of the newest human space station, watching ships from 47 different species working together on a massive construction project. They were building a joint research facility that would be twice the size of any previous galactic collaboration. "You did it," Dr. Stone said, joining her at the window. "You changed the galaxy." Brooks shook her head. "We didn't change the galaxy, Rebecca. We just showed it what it could become." She pointed to the construction site where human efficiency was being combined with elven artistry, draconis engineering, and technologies from dozens of other species. This is what partnership looks like. Not one species dominating others, but all species contributing their best to something greater than any of us could achieve alone. Commander Zara Vex's voice came over the communication system. "Captain Brooks, the new research station will be completed ahead of schedule. Draconis. Engineers have adapted human manufacturing techniques to improve construction speed by 40%. "Excellent work, Commander," Brooks replied. "What's our next project?" "The Council has approved construction of 7 new joint facilities throughout the galaxy. Representatives from all member species want to participate." Brooks smiled. "Then, we'd better get building." As the months passed, the galaxy that had once laughed at humanity's single ship learned to respect the civilization that ship represented. Human technology appeared on every world. Human methods were adopted by every species, and human philosophy transformed galactic society. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had proven that strength didn't require domination, that advancement didn't require exploitation, and that the best way to win was to make everyone else win alongside you. The title had been prophetic. The galaxy had laughed when humans sent one ship. But by the time that ship arrived, it was already too late for laughter. It was time for partnership, cooperation, and a future none of them could have imagined alone. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon, Imp,